I'm gonna tell you, I have to talk about this past Friday night, because this past Friday night, many of you joined me at the Illinois Institute of Technology for the Rwanda Royal Tour documentary. Man, when I tell you that event exceeded my expectations, I was completely blown away. I was blown away, one, by you all and the level of engagement. Oh my goodness. We had a packed room. The auditorium held about 175 seats. I think we had maybe about 30, 40 seats open. I mean, you all came out in numbers. So we had a packed room and a phenomenal panel that followed the documentary. Now, if you missed this opportunity, we're looking at the possibility of potentially doing it late this summer, and another showing of some sort. And to put it frankly, why we would do it is the people who watched the documentary asked if they would have an opportunity to see it again because they were so engaged and love what they saw so much. And so we'll look at the opportunity to do that. Once again, thank you to Alicia Bunton, the Director of Community Affairs at the Illinois Institute of Technology, for hosting us. And then a special thank you to Cheryl Jackson, David Anderson of AAR, for being there. They joined the panel. As a matter of fact, Cheryl Jackson will be joining me as a co-host next week on the show to talk about her TED Talk, Grit and Grace. So you do not want to miss next week with Cheryl Jackson, by the way. A phenomenal spirit, powerful leader, and a very successful woman. For you ladies out there, talk about a role model. Cheryl Jackson is quite the leader, quite the woman, and she'll be sharing with us next week her own fascinating story of grit and grace. But a little bit about the documentary. I have some notes here that those who did watch the documentary found out about Rwanda. And I think they were really surprised to hear this. But first, Rwanda is, considered the cleanest, safest place in Africa, one. And those who watched the documentary had an opportunity to see firsthand how elegant and clean Rwanda looks. We followed President Paul Kagame as he talked about how they've successfully taken the individuals who used to be guerrilla poachers and turned them into guerrilla rangers to protect the endangered mountain gorillas. By the way, there are only 800 mountain gorillas left in the world. There's only two countries that you can see them. One is Rwanda, the other one is the Congo. If I'm going to see them, I prefer to go to Rwanda because the Congo has its own level of conflict. And they're protected in Rwanda. They recently in Virunga, which is in Congo, there's still some danger for those gorillas. 800 in the world. In 1994, I think most of us know from the movie Hotel Rwanda, 1 million to 1.2 million Rwandans were killed due to civil war and genocide. And I think the thing that captured most of us, and if there's anyone who was at the documentary, if you want to call in and share your perspective in the next few minutes, please do so. 773-591-1690. I think for all of us who were there, by the way, we had representation from the Rwandan embassy. So Mr. Bani, I don't want to mispronounce his last name because I don't have it written down, but Mr. Bani came out along with a few other Rwandans, and they shared their own personal stories of that genocide, how they lost family members, people that they love, care about. They shared other stories, and it was a moving event. And I think more than anything, the thing that we all walked away with was the power of forgiveness. The power of forgiveness. And I want you to hear this part. One of the young ladies, I can't remember her name, I think it's Annabella. I don't want to miss. I think that her name was Annabella, but she was Rwandan, and she got up on the mic and shared a personal story about the genocide and how, you know, she lost people in her family. Her mom lost most of her family, and that it wasn't just the power of forgiveness that allowed them to move forward. By the way, Rwanda has completely turned around. I haven't talked about the phenomenal things that they learned, right? Part of the reason I think everyone was so moved is because of what Rwanda has accomplished in the last 24 years since the genocide. It's miraculous. It's nothing short of miraculous in terms of what they've been able to achieve as a country. In their GDP, technology. I mean, their Rwandan students get laptops produced in Rwanda for their education. I mean, the list goes on and on in terms of things that they've been able to establish under the leadership of President Kagame. But the piece that I think really took us is, 24 years since they were a location of genocide. 24 years later, Rwanda has turned around to be the beacon of the continent in many ways. And we got a chance to see that in the documentary. And what she said is it was the power of forgiveness, but it was also stepping out of the being a victim. I forget the word she used exactly. I know in coaching we talk about stepping out of being at effect. Which is at effect is being a victim, and I was just blown away by that, because when you think about what it is to be a victim, by the way, being a victim, what it means is you're a victim of your circumstance, right? You're a victim of the past. You're a victim of things that took place, and you keep replaying them and replaying them and staying victimized, staying in the same perpetual state of victimization, even though you're no longer a victim, right? And many of us have never been a victim. I mean, let's be clear. Some of us have, but many of us, we haven't really been a victim. You might say, I am a victim of your circumstance, a victim of your situation, maybe a victim of the situation you were born into. But when I talk about being a victim, I mean chained, killed, maimed, that level of victimization that took place in Rwanda in particular, and the forgiveness and the ability to take full responsibility for what they want the country to be was just truly inspirational, motivational, and I think it taught a lot of us a very big lesson. So that was a phenomenal event, and of course, if we can, make any strides in terms of showing that documentary again in the future, we will. But thank you again to those who came out. It was by far it exceeded my expectations, and it exceeded my expectations because of you all. Thank you so much. All right, and a lot of people are now going to Rwanda. They're like, hey, we want to go, and that's one of the things that Insights for Life will be offering come 2019. The opportunity to go with us to Rwanda and experience it firsthand yourself. All right, well, let's talk about the characteristics of success. What does it take, one, to be successful? Now that we've defined what success is, we talked about the psychology of success, what you have to think like. And by the way, if you're like, wait a second, I didn't hear any of that, Linal, you can go out to YouTube. You can check those shows out. You can also go to Facebook and check out the Facebook live streams on my page to check all these out. But just so far, the show has been phenomenal. Thank you all for the contributions that you've made. And let's talk about the characteristics of success. Oh, wait a second. I got a phone call on the program, the Rwanda documentary, Mama D. Good morning, Mama D. How are you?
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'm just so excited. It was just wonderful. And I did not know you were so young and so handsome. And I did not know that I would be sitting directly behind your beautiful, beautiful wife, and that big Kardashian-sized diamond she had on her finger. It was like, what do they call these disco lights? Just lighting up everything.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
But, the part about forgiveness, I thought that was so interesting because the president, when you have good leadership, effective leadership,
yes,
you don't forget the past. So
that's right.
Didn't forget the past. He had
right.
that genocide museum.
The museum, yeah.
So they didn't forget the past.
That's right.
But to go forward, he's using the drones to drop medicine.
Yep.
We in the United States are using the drones to drop bombs and kill people.
Mm-hmm.
So how that effective leadership and how he was so beloved by the people until they changed the law to give him a third term.
Yep.
I found that fascinating. But the forgiveness, getting back to that, to actually have the Hutus and the Tutsis, is that?
Tutsis.
Yes, the Tutsis, having them go to the people that they have injured and ask for forgiveness and be given that forgiveness so that everybody has a space in order to grow and become better.
And real quick, Mama D, let me tell them what you're talking about. So in Rwanda, they have this, they call them community courts that are led by the community, and they call them gachacha. And basically what happens is the community, they act as the judge and jury for what a person does, and the community decides whether or not they're going to forgive or condemn someone for what they've done. And that's part of how they handled the genocide afterwards. So keep going. I'm sorry. I just wanted to explain
no
that.
problem.
Yeah.
Thanks for that because Judge Timothy Evans, I saw him at a function, and that's one of the things that he wanted to do. He said that the future should not be about just locking people up.
That's right.
So he wanted to get the victim, the victimizer, the lawyer, the judge, the people from the community, and create that kind of space. So I'm looking forward to him bringing that, especially to Chicago. But in conclusion, I just wanted to say how wonderful it was to say once a month. I think they said every Saturday.
Last Saturday. That's right.
Of the month, the community comes out and cleans up the neighborhood.
Yep.
And just think, if we could make that one of our goals and apply that in Chicago,
that would be beautiful. And by the way, it's not just for the community to come together and clean up their community and volunteer to clean up their community, but the leaders come out, and this gives the community an opportunity to engage with the leaders and for the community to share with the leaders what it is that they want, they need from their leaders, right? So it's also a way that they can dialogue with one another to ensure they're all on the same page.
Absolutely, and that is so important because when I was growing up, we had two institutions. We had the institution of the Black Church and the institution of Black Mamahood.
Right.
And somebody was going to tell your mama because somebody knew your mama.
Right.
When we don't know our neighbors, we call 911 and they'll put your 5-year-old in handcuffs and take them to jail. So that is something that's very, very necessary, and I hope that we can implement that too. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much for the phone call. And thanks for sharing that perspective. All right, Mama D, thank you so much for the phone call. Man, I'm telling you, it was, again, a phenomenal event. And let me tell you something. When I'm asking you all to come out to an event, one of the things I want you to know, I'm asking for a few reasons. One, to inspire you. One, to give us a brand new place to look, to create brand new possibility in terms of what we're up to in our own community. And three, to give you new perspective and education. And I think we got all that. And this is Maurice. I believe Maurice was at the event as well. Maurice, good morning. How are you?
Yes, I was, brother. God bless you, man. There's so much to be said about what you're bringing to this community, brother. And if I had to just describe it in one word, it would be quality.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
Yeah.
Nothing mediocre about what you're doing, my brother.
Well,
I'm all the way with you in murdering mediocrity.
yeah, I was gonna say that. If I brought it in a mediocre way, that would be right against what I talk about. So yeah, no.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're talking the talk, you're walking the walk, black man.
Appreciate that.
And I gave you that picture
You
frame
did.
with the one God,
That's
one
right.
people, one bank.
You did. Thank you for
I hope
that.
you had a chance to look in that manila envelope, because we are in a mediocre position economically, politically, economically, socially. But black folk got a lot of work to do.
We do.
But God always has a ram in the bush. In the world of business, brother Linal, they look at things in terms of two ways:
Right.
assets and liabilities.
True.
You are one of the assets, brother. We got a lot of liabilities. A lot of people still on mediocre stuff. But God got a lot of assets out here. You are one of them.
I appreciate that.
And I hope we can all come together and work out an economic solution to these problems, because economics is at the crux of all this stuff, my brother.
Agreed.
So keep it up. Stay with God. He ain't finished with you yet, black man.
Thank you for that, Maurice. Thank you so much for the phone call, brother. I appreciate you. Yep. And again, thank you for the beautiful gift to the frame, along with what you put in the manila envelope in the back. Appreciate that. Thoughtfulness, very thoughtful. It's one of those things where you're like, oh wow, thank you. I mean, I don't do this for gifts or for anything from the community. And so once again, thank you for that, Maurice, for that kind thought. To share that with my wife and I. All right. Well, let's get into the topic, because I'm sure a lot of you all, you called, you joined the show because you want to hear about these characteristics of success. I got more people calling from the documentary though, so I'm gonna take this one last call, and then we'll. As a matter of fact, there was one gentleman there who wanted to connect with me, and I didn't get your information. And so if you're out there, call in and give my producer the information, so that way I can reach out to you. But Neil, good morning. How are you?
Oh, great. I would say Friday night was, man, the greatest day.
Nice.
I was so overwhelmed. I happened to be sitting in front of the young lady that was from Africa. They got up and smoked.
Right.
And it was just tremendous to be there, to experience not only her as well as the official minister that talked about the reconciliation of how things take place there, and enlighten us to say we could have a change of a heart and do it here also.
That's right.
And to also find out about the financial opportunities in the countries, and how you can get in business in 24 hours.
Yeah. We didn't talk about that. Hey, when I tell you all missed a good event. I mean, we covered so many different aspects, but one of the things we talked about is the power of doing business in Africa, in particular Rwanda. Do you remember what they said the APR was on a savings account?
8%, man.
Yes, this is a basic.
Contact with some relatives now and tell them, hey, you need to wake up. There is a saying that I think we need to coin over here with everyone, especially of color.
Yeah.
Wake the up.
Yeah.
And we can put everything what we want in between that up, but we definitely need to do that.
Yeah. And I asked the question of the Rwandan official that was on the panel with us. I asked him, I said, what is the APR? Because I didn't know what it was in Rwanda. I know what it is in other African countries. In Ghana in particular, it's 9%, right? So, and this is, by the way, a basic savings account. We're not talking about a CD, right? We're not talking about a money market account. This is a basic savings account. In Rwanda, you get 7 to 8% on your money.
And that's not rocket science.
No, it's not rocket science. And then, if you recall, when I asked him that question, he said, well, it depends on what kind of savings account, because if you do get a CD or a restricted account where, you lend the money to the bank for a year or more, it can get up to as much as 30%.
Whoa!
You remember him saying that?
Yeah, man. Wow. I thought he was talking about that related to business.
No, he was talking about if you put your money in the banks there, like in terms of, they have different terms, of course. This is not a basic savings, but if you are willing to allow them to secure your money for 2 years or more, etc., he says then the percentages begin to jump, and it can go up to as much as 30% on your money.
And talking about broadening your mind, we thank you brother for broadening my mind. I hope the other folks are thankful also, but we definitely need to do this. Our community is hungry. We need to get educated and broaden our minds, broaden our scopes beyond our borders. Because things as though that's where, get out of the box, that's where our answers is. That's
right, man. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that type of event to Chicago, and the reason we're doing it again. I mean, we plan to do it in New York, we plan to do it in Atlanta, and then if we can do it once again here, maybe late summer here in Chicago. So for those of you who missed it, be on the lookout, because I will bring out some of the same people that the same individual, Mr. Bani from the Embassy of Rwanda, who is based in DC. And we'll bring them back out, and so you all can interact and ask questions again and watch the documentary.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
I did get some people there, and I hope to get more people there next time and so on, because this is rich.
That's right. And this is Benjamin Neal, correct?
Right.
All right. Yeah. So be expecting a phone call from me. I didn't forget about you. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye. All right. So you guys got it. And again, I kind of skirted over it, as you can tell, because the callers called in and gave a lot more than I gave. Because I get excited when I was there. I've seen the documentary multiple times. I forget how powerful this information is. Well, I don't forget it. That's why I wanted you all to come out. But then once I do it, I'm like, all right, on to, that's gone. I crossed that off my list. That's a milestone accomplished. Now what's next?